and at the program, Mohamed Kone this morning, he did talk about the elections preparation ahead of the 2023 elections. Did
All right, so they come back to you, Mr. Kone. Earlier, before we go for the other material we'll play, you will talk about recommendation them way election observer mission them be make after the 2018 election, and be able for pick some per them recommendation then the and one way I want for ask you about now the fixed date for all salon elections then, because when you look at some other countries that are the sub-region, most of them they try for adapt that pattern they for get a fixed date. And one of the recommendation them within the National Electoral Commission for salon be able for make a decision we reach to that particular recommendation.
Yeah, as rightly say, we self consider say we need to get fixed dates for avoid the controversies around when elections get for be conducted. So we look at the current administration term when it will end, and then we look at and say for this election we can not be able to implement the fixed election dates. So what we do, we propose, because we calculate from April, the 3 months will end in July. So if we forget fixed dates and want to avoid the raining, then it will be like 3 or maximum 4 months after the term of office for 2028. So therefore, in our proposal we will do for the fixed dates in the Public Elections Act, we propose first Saturday of November, where it will give time, the rain go down pass, then it will give you time for do all the necessary preparation. So we think say fixed dates is very much an ideal situation where you go bring out, where you go minimize the issue of when for announce the election dates. And that also go prepare political parties and anybody who want to participate in the process for prepare himself very well.
Now the 2020-2024 strategic plan, Mr. Kone, una state some challenges them we una feel say if you no address go challenge go undermine the commission ability for do them work. Some of the challenges they are now the lack of equity to explain the timing, funding, political interference, and other one them. So what the commission don't do now for make sure say una address this the challenges una talk about ahead of the 2023 elections.
One of the recommendations we've been cut out of the 2018 election sustainability of funding electionary activities. So what thing we propose to government now for make it establish what we call Election Sustainability Trust Fund, the next fund. This fund now government established last year they don't establish the fund where they open at the first deposit now be 5 billion. So waiting from them, waiting they decide for they do every week, then they transfer certain amounts into this trust fund. So therefore, for the area that we would undertake activities on quarterly basis, we they draw up with activity, we create a to finance, when they sit down, we look at her, then the money we then get in this trust fund, they transfer directly to we. So in other words, the bottleneck we then can get, what we normally get for develop pet form, go through all them process and this next form don't reduce that. The other thing we would don't do now for enhance with structural base, with IT infrastructure, the human resource capacity, so that we're able, improve and use the technology space where they're available now, so that we'll be able to conduct election, we'll be able to manage results, we'll be able to manage the results, and able to get fair understanding of when our suppliers and when they do by elections after the by elections. They get for pay because they conduct election resources they know they. So therefore, waiting first I do, I make clear say, me not go conduct even by election. If I not go announce a date for election, if the resources they know they will get that understanding very clearly. So from there, every election what they do, they submit a request to them for them pay the money before even start the process. And therefore, gradually over this period, we will not get any outstanding debts again. They were outstanding there even as far as 2018. We don't clear all that. Now we get the resources. So with regard to funding the next fund, the procedure we would put in place. For example, for this year budget, the ministry don't approve, the parliament approved 300 billion. So then they work on this arrangement on weekly basis, waiting and they send it for able to meet that amount today. As we talk from last week, Friday, then disburse the first amount of money from this next form to the activity based on the quarterly arrangement, the request that we don't present. So we get the resources for now, and at the moment, I don't get any doubts for say that will change, because one thing we I make very clear is that elections, now government, that state's responsibility. And therefore, the state get for funder. If our diplomatic partners they get for come in and only assist, then they can assist, but not to their responsibility for letting give funding for election. That's very clear, and I think we're on common ground on that.
Voter registration, Chairman, now one way key to the whole process of elections and voter education. But we'll come to the voter education later. Voter registration, we see the civil registration, they do registration, and NEC, I believe, say therefore do their own special one or different one, or how now they collate the two registration them.
The responsibility for voter registration, na constitutional provision for NEC for Becky do voter registration. NCRA, the National Civil Registration Authority, is responsible for register citizens of Sierra Leone. And one of the requirements where they do voter registration now for establishing the person at Sierra Leone, when a critical requirement. So therefore, when we they do voter registration, in fact, we know they do now voter registration updates we get for do. Because in 2017, they be done do joint national registration and voter registration. But that record we will get currently, we're not going to be able to use that say, because people they may not register 2018, some people they don't die, some people they not travel, they're not there inside the current register. So what would they do? Would they update the voter register? Would they extract the information where civil registration they give it for people that way they support for vote 18 years and above, or we get for be 18 the time when they do election. So we buy computers, we upload this information, then we open with centers. They do voter registration for 1 month in 2 phases. The first phase, 15 days, and the other phase, 15 days. So we get this laptop, your information there inside already from civil registration. We get your picture, you get your national identity number. Where you go, they will use your biometric feature, either a thumbprint or use the national identification number. Then your detail will come up, because we get for put you in a registration center. And therefore, we're not going to just know if you're doing IMAT, we'll put you in an IMAT today in case on today you want vote. So therefore, we get for open voter registration center. Everybody get for good day, but you get for day on the NCRA data. However, if you not did it, the time when they do the voter registration, you will encourage you go back to NCRA. In fact, and get for day by website in some places where you will go date and register you, then your information will directly come to we for make we update your profile on the voter register.
Mr. Konya, they bring you back to the issue of the election funding. Most time the election in happen, government can give their own funding and self would only see outside donor partner in the coming for help government for fund elections them. And with the establishment of the trust fund, outside government only put couple for ensure say then support to now for all free, fair and credible election them. This particular 2023 elections, now government fully they fund them or now they expect to not partner them for coming at some point?
Yes, before the moment we develop a strategic plan we will launch UN through UNDP, they send representative will get virtual meeting for many access we need and requirements, priority areas. So from that review day, they don't indicate, so we say they get for support. And EU, of course, we don't need support NEC, we know they support ECSL, Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone, over the years. They still provide support. But as I mentioned, the responsibility of the election, na government or na state's responsibility. However, the international partners and contribution indication they say, then they can help for support the process. But the basket, the trust fund we government are establishing, are purely government. Nobody not puts any resources into that. And the indication they will get, then they look at the activity plan. There will partners there. For example, some will say, would they support voter education? Would they support gender inclusion? with the support IT and data. So now something like an activity-based support that they give, rather than the car with the money put in the basket.
Before we come back to the area of voter registration, where Asma they ask you about, let's just quickly talk about the election observer mission them. We been come saloon for the 2018 election. They be make a recommendation them where the EC don't begin for look at and not don't choose the one them way una for implement for now. But again, let me do follow-up mission at Salon, where the Electoral Commission for Salon, then NEC, now be one part the institution, according to the report and recommendation, then be pulled say the people only lost trust by that particular institution. Now una they ready for conduct the elections them for the 2023. How NEC go work for make sure say the perception of people them say they don't lost trust by the EC una change them.
I think I believe in fact, and I believe say people of Sierra Leone, they don't observe the Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone over this period. They don't live up to expectations. The come where they want to make where they talk about then people they not lost trust. It depends on whether they ask. But in terms of the activity, in terms of results that we would only do since I coming or even before I coming, it will not prove the NEC a credible and still credible. So therefore, what we will continue for do, now for continue the good process that will be done to follow in terms of transparency, in terms of accountability, and in terms of inclusion. So that's the only way where people there will get say NEC is still credible as we don't expect her. So they operate on open door policy.
The elections dates where you commission don't put, it will be inside the ends. Waiting at the plans, we all know say June time we then na salon. First of all, why inside June and waiting will happen in case rain count that day?
Why June? The Constitution say you conduct elections, presidential elections, in the last 4 months to the end of the president in term, or 3 months after the end of in term. The president came into power in April. So if you count from April to April, May, June, July, so we get the leeway for conduct election, presidential election. If you count to the parliament start for seat on 24th of April. So then said the time go down in April. So if they do all the election and they will take the parliamentary term off, which is the expiration within the 3 months. So we look at June, May, it will be difficult because people then get for the one way they get for contest and get for public officials and way they get for contest and get for resign. We get for do voter registration. We get for do a lot of activities. So May it be for difficult in terms of planning. So we look at July. When we look at July, we realize that July, at the time that the rain can be very serious. So the midway position, we look at June 24th.
So plans in the event in Canada.
If rain come, we dey plan for every eventuality. What we not go plan, we not go say we give everybody umbrella because you want for go vote. But in terms of which side materials they get for day, we get for ensure say we make plan for that. So the material they not go be destroyed.
Voter education key to the whole process again, waiting are the plans for voter education.
Yeah, one of the changes we do now the ECSL now for even separate the voter education from training. So we get a whole department now where they coordinate voter education. Part of we major activities now for level enhance community participation. We don't draw up a policy, we don't draw up a strategy. The strategy now for make we work with traditional partners, radio stations, civil society organization, community elders. In fact, we don't even form first-time voters and across all schools, at district levels. So these are some of the infrastructure that we don't put in place.
Right. Chairman, let me look at the electoral commission. We una also get an objective for produce electoral boundaries on time, and we don't see says the census done, but results the final results not come with. Then they go affect the commissioning work in any way.
You see, when we do a strategic plan, we take note of the the statement from the government say they get for do midterm census. So even though we indicate in our strategic plan, say 2024 we'll do boundary delimitation, but we'll take notes. The reason we take notes, because the Constitution provides you can do boundary delimitation review every 5 years or 7 years. So the last boundary delimitation we didn't do, now being February, came into effect in 2017. Therefore, the current one don't reach for review.
Okay.
And we'll get for review, which we call population quota. You use the number of seats where Parliament will recommend, say, for the next session, and this number of seats get for Dana Parliament. Therefore, we use that parliamentary number, divide the population by this number, forget the population quota, we for be representative of the constituency. So if we get for do boundary delimitation, when we request Parliament, they give it the number, and then we can use that number there for determine the population census results where it will come. Then that's why we get for the voter registration by September. So from now to August, if we get the details of the census and we get the details from Parliament, obviously we could do boundary delimitation, and we prepare for that, for able to meet up before we start voter registration.
Una be announced say on the 24th of June, una the all the elections them one day. Mm-hmm. And this particular pattern been started in 2018. We na be the first time we salon all 4 elections then in one day. And when you look at other international best practices there, you see salon be don't set the bar high for all the elections there. So in one day. Waiting now some of the things them we will be like a stepping stone for NEC for continue for all them particular elections there. So where international partners then you always make salon as examples in a best practice.
Well, we as they always say, the institution where they use the legal provisions for do elections. For the next election, what they do, Parliament will approve for let us do the 4 elections on the same day. Mm-hmm. So therefore, with the experience we don't get 2018, we still get the staff and the plan all will get now for let we ensure say we provide the logistics we necessary for conduct all the election. We know logistically that's something we it's challenging, but we get the experience and we don't put the plans then several options in place where ensure say we're able to deliver on the mandate for conduct the 4 elections. And once we go through this, now with the fixed dates we get for camp, we know say the planning process will start long ahead.
The term one I don't put for voter registration now about like a 1 month period. Mm-hmm. The EC thing say that period is enough for long to register all eligible voters them. Na salon?
Enough. Because in fact the law say 15 days, but they do it in 2 phases. 15 days for open centers across the country. So we get for do it in phases. We do 15 days across the country with selected area. Then the other phase, 15 days. So once we don't do that, then at the field data collection, the subsequent activities now for make we come back, correct there, clean up the data. So by December 24th, we don't able to get finalize the voter register.
Now the EU observation recommendation, they be concerned about the tabulation of the processing of the results. Say for be clear. Anything but that, waiting I don't do with regards to that.
We don't review the process. One of the recommendations are where they say now for write the figures in Word. Now for the form we get, he already get enough information where we will use for sure say the process is transparent. The recommendations where you go hinder, where you go affect or you go slow down the process, we go virtually not be able to consider. But any recommendation where we go enhance transparency and accountability within the time frame we're ready for what is effort. So we don't put in place for review most of the processes where forms that they use for tallying process.
So far, Chairman, you don't really talk smoothly as if the process really smooth as you go. No, waiting at this one challenge where you get, or where the commission gets as soon as they plan for the 2023 elections. Because everything seems easy as you talk.
Yeah, it's not easier. Of course, we anticipate challenges. For example, they use technology. They buy computers, about 2,000 computers. We all know what's the global impact in terms of the COVID impact on the global economy. The production of some of the technology, therefore, takes some time. So therefore, one of these we don't identify. We also now they look internally, what if this not happen? What will be the next solution? So as a team, we get a team where they look into all of this, the area that way will greatly impact the process.
Chairman, will talk small bits about the area of the talent center them, na a concern. Any plan they from the EC for increase the number of talent center they wanna get around the country rather than for bring everything come back now on our main talent center now Wellington?
What will they do? The approach where the commission don't approve. Instead of do regional talent, we they go for district talent system. We also don't increase the number of polling centers. The last election have been 3,300. So we don't increase them by 10% across the country. So if we get for you district talent system, what will they do now? Where would they do the mapping of centers? We also do collect information in terms of the distance, and in terms of the time we would take for bring the material to the district. So with this, when the time reach for elections, we not the only plan for delivery, we also the plan for repatriation of the materials so that we're able to tally the results and release the results, in time and reduce the timing. So we get a plan for that. They use the district system.
Chairman, earlier I be ask you about the issue of the time owner give for register when about a 1 month period. During the time they take this decision for pull that date day, any plans for the salon people or the diaspora, any special plans for them? Because now one of the people and then the way beyond they come out, they talk say they have need for participate in election process.
We don't get the plan for go out and do voter registration for Sierra Leoneans the way they out. However, we don't give sufficient time for people then for plan, so that whether one for can register, they go can register. However, it's something we seriously debate as a commission, how if we want for one, because one of the things, and that's what I've been talking at Parliament say, because of the experience we have been there for travel for can register. I've been really one make with withdrawal, but the situation at this point, the economic reality, will not get the resources for say we will go do outside registration.
How about relationship with local partners where they into elections business? Waiting on a relationship as soon as the plan now for bring them into our plans.
We get very good relationship with our local partners. For example, the National Election Watch, when they don't sign MOU, the moment I can renew MOU, we they work with them. We also get other partners like the NDI, the PPLC, and other state institutions that where they're in governance. The civil society, we don't receive several requests for let be partners. So what we don't do, we don't develop a form where they profile the civil society organizations and where they want to be partner. So the relationship with me is cordial so far.
Chairman, you know go come na program like this for can explain about how the EC don't prepare for all the next elections then. We'll not talk about electoral violence, although UNASEF not the envisage that, but now some of the common things then they wake up on our elections. And normally when I get other EMB they want to work with for ensure, especially the law enforcement body, for make sure say them provide security. Now when they talk about the preparedness, how much we don't engage with them partner there, so based on experience we happen some of the by-elections they want to conduct.
Yes, the good thing is Electoral Commission a member of the security infrastructure, the security sector. And secondly, if the person will go represent 98.1, as he say, we invite all related security players for make it be present or they declare the dates. In addition to that, the security sector, ONS, they don't do security threat assessment for elections. So all of this, therefore, educates we as we plan for the election, so that we'll be able to provide the appropriate security. But I also want to emphasize we own responsibility. We as a NEC, even we say we own security and logistics in the hands of the state security. What do they do? Every activity, when they sit down, we tell them say that this will want to wanna provide the resources, the security resources where necessary. And I'm sure even the next one we will get, part of it, the security sectors and get for user.
Well, our message on Facebook say, please, from Alfred, he say, please 98 ask the commissioner if they are going to change the date of the elections.
This one, they say, truly speaking, June is not a fine date for election in this part of the world.
This one says, keep it up, Commissioner. By the way you're talking, I'm hopeful that there will be free, fair elections in 2023.
All right, the last one for me now, they say,
from Mystic Nadwazak, saying as much as National Electoral Commission has made pronouncements of the 2023 general election and local council elections, public education is very vital, especially on the importance of registration and accessibility of registration centers in the city.
all right, we continue with the program Good Morning Salon, and quickly we come back to the next chairman for let go respond to some of them comments then they.
Okay, to start with, we don't advertise. The period don't close for recruitment of work coordinators. Right now, we process the recruitment, the applications there, and then one day we'll get for use for help for the recruitment of the lower level for the voter registration process. So currently, we're in the process of the recruitment process. We not go change dates, because we don't get experience for conduct election in rain. And once they are not Sierra-Leoneans, therefore, they are very more determinant people. We vote in this country under bullets. So therefore, I'm sure when the election they come, rain or shine, we all know, including asthma, we all get for go vote, because we want we voice for be heard. We get for participate in the process. Public education, I must emphasize, is a very crucial, process in the electoral process, and we get plans there for do that. But we also they call on political parties, civil society organizations, that NEC or the ECSL not so in one they conduct election for make it be free and fair and participatory. We all get for play the role for make we ensure say the process, it go through successfully.
All right.
And the access to centers, of course, part of the mapping of the polling center, we don't say we increase it by 10%. We also get for understand the accessibility, how difficult it is for that.
All right, Chairman, before you left in the studio, from on Monday where you announced the dates them for all the elections, them we wanna go all June 24, 2023, clearly shows say una work don't begin in terms of cooperation with other partners them. Talk to them partner they now for let them really work with the EC for ensure say una all free, fair and credible elections come 2023.
Okay. Sierra Leoneans, political parties, civil society organizations, I want to make we approach this election like how we approach the Leone Star Participation Nations Cup. And I understand say by June next year again, other Nations Cup day. So I want to make we all support the electoral process, may we contribute towards the process, and let we also trust the Electoral Commission, because they don't do them before, and they are for build on that legacy will be done. I trust una, I promise una say we will be transparent in the process. We call on everybody for making participate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's now be the Chief Electoral Commissioner and Chairman for the Electoral Commission for Salon, Mohamed Kone. It be done from 7:30 this morning. They talk about the EC and preparation for ensure say they all free, fair and credible election them June 24, 2023. Thank you very much, sir, for joining me at the program.
Thank you very much.